Welcome to Echo Tales. The house on Hollow Hill. It was a moonless night when Sarah's car broke down on the winding road that led to Hollow Hill. The engine sputtered and died, leaving her stranded in the middle of nowhere. Her phone had no signal, and the nearest town was miles away. As she stepped out of the car, the only light came from the faint glow of her flashlight, casting long shadows across the deserted road. She had heard the stories about Hollow Hill, how it was cursed, and how anyone who ventured there never returned. But those were just tales, she told herself, nothing more than ghost stories meant to scare children. Still, as she looked up at the looming silhouette of the old mansion at the top of the hill, a chill ran down her spine. With no other options, Sarah decided to seek help at the mansion. She hesitated for a moment before pushing open the creaking iron gate led up to the house. The path was overgrown with weeds, and the trees lining it seemed to close in on her as she walked. Every rustle of leaves made her heart race. Every snap of a twig underfoot sent a shiver through her body. The mansion was a towering structure, its windows dark and lifeless. The door, however, was slightly ajar, as if inviting her in. Sarah knocked, but there was no answer. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the wooden floorboards groaned under her weight. "Hello?" she called out, her voice echoing through the empty hall. There was no response, only the sound of the wind howling through the broken windows. She ventured further inside, flashlight flickering as if it too was afraid. As she explored the mansion, she noticed strange things. The furniture was covered in dust. There were fresh footprints in the dust on the floor. A mirror in the hallway was cracked, yet it reflected something moving behind her. Though when she turned, there was nothing there. The feeling of being watched grew stronger with each step she took. In one of the rooms, she found a large portrait of a man with cold, dark eyes. His gaze seemed to follow her as she moved around the room. Beneath the portrait was a diary, pages yellowed with age. Curiosity got the better of her, and she began to read. The diary belonged to a man named Victor Hollow, the last known owner of the mansion. The entries spoke of strange occurrences, of voices in the night, and of something lurking in the shadows. The final entry was incomplete, ending abruptly with a scrawl that looked like it had been made in haste. A loud crash from upstairs made Sarah jump. She dropped the diary, heart pounding in her chest. Gathering her courage, she slowly ascended the grand staircase, flashlight flickering more violently now. She reached the top of the stairs and was met with a long, dark hallway. At the end of it, a door was slightly open, light spilling out from the crack. With trembling hands, Sarah pushed the door open. The room was empty, save for a single chair in the center. On the chair sat a doll, porcelain face cracked, one eye missing. As she approached, the door slammed shut behind her, trapping her inside. The flashlight went out completely, plunging the room into darkness. Sarah's breath quickened as she fumbled with the flashlight, trying to get it to work. When it finally flickered back on, the doll was gone. A cold hand touched her shoulder, and she froze, too terrified to move. Slowly, she turned her head, but there was no one there. The air grew colder, and she could hear faint whispers, unintelligible, growing louder. She ran to the door, pulling at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Panic set in as the whispers turned into wails, and the temperature dropped even further. She could see her breath in the air, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the noise stopped. The door creaked open, and Sarah didn't hesitate. She bolted down the stairs, out of the mansion, and back onto the road. Her car was just as she had left it, but when she tried the engine, it roared to life as if nothing had ever been wrong. As she drove away, she glanced in the rearview mirror. The mansion stood silent on the hill, its windows now glowing with an eerie light. And standing in the driveway was the figure of a man, watching her with cold, still dark eyes. She never spoke of that night again, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw those eyes staring back at her, and she heard the whispers calling her back to the house on Hollow Hill. For more videos, subscribe to my channel.